Good day. My name is Jamie Thompson, 2022 student of World Changers Bible School. I'm doing a topical sermon of patience and the way patience is looked at in the Bible. I will be reading out of the King James Version of the Bible. So if you have your Bibles, you can follow along with me. So my introduction is out of the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verses 2 through 4. And it reads as such: always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, make allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. When I first heard that passage and I read the whole passage, stuck out to me. I believe to be a patient person, and I'm around people that's not patient, and I see what it does to people that's not patient and how it's not pleasing to God when you have no patience. So I wanted to do my topical sermon on patience. Being patient with each other is the cornerstone of love your neighbor, treat everyone as if you would want to be treated, and having patience with them. Everyone has a lot of different things going on in their life, right, wrong, death, children, friends, a lot of things. So you don't know how someone's day is going. So when you lack empathy and you lack patience with that person, in traffic, you are not patient. Or if you go to a store, one of the box supermarkets, you're not patient because there's not enough lines open up. Then it develops anger, and it develops an emotion that is not pleasing to God. So we all must try to govern ourselves to have patience and binding yourself together with each other as if treat each one as if you would want to be treated. And it's always, my mother said to me that being patient, your time will come. And there's several stories in the book about God and Jesus, how they blessed someone when they waited on them, was kind to others, being patient. So there's a pleasing to God with patience. The definition of patience is tolerant, uncomplaining, understanding. That's very important. There's a lot of more definitions there, but I picked those three because they're the three that resonate with me when I'm dealing with patience and I'm dealing with impatient people that they're not tolerant of others. They are complaining a lot. They are not understanding what's going on in the whole situation. For the most part, they just self-consume and thinking about themselves. So that pretty much the definitions that I poured out that I think that we would like to touch on. Able to accept tolerant delays, problems, or suffering without becoming annoyed. That definition I poured out because it's so profound. Being able to accept tolerant delays. Traffic is terrible in Atlanta. Everybody knows, it's world known. And I see a lot of accidents and shootings and things like that because people are not tolerant with delays and problems, suffering because of lack of tolerance, lack of patience. They started being annoyed, and it seems to be an ongoing trend, an ongoing problem. The cost of having patience, there is a cost. If you decide to do things without patience and you just throw it off an impulse, there's a cost of operating outside of the order of God. God allows you, God will want you to ask Him for everything. And then there's in Proverbs 3 and 6, making decisions without putting God first is pretty much in my book a no-no. You gotta seek the wisdom, the knowledge of God. God will speak to you, talk to you, and give you directions in order. And it says that in Proverbs 3:6, in everything you do, put God first, and He will direct you. So understanding that, anything you do, if you sit, be patient, speak to God, wait for the revelation of the answer to what He would want you to do to order your steps, you have to develop patience. And I talk to some people sometimes, and they were like, well, I speak to God, but I'm still waiting. Okay. Keep waiting, keep talking to God, keep praying. I think my relationship with God is developing more and more and more as I understand God's voice and understand how God talks to me. And I equate it to having children. Recently, I was at a friend of my house who had a daughter. She was 2 years old, 18 months old, and she was talking, baby talking. We couldn't really understand what she wanted, and she was pointing, making gestures, she was making noises, and it took us 10 minutes. I mean, we were grabbing bottles and toys and candy and everything, trying to just give her comfort. And mom's come home, my mother come home, and saw her a little frustrated and said, what's going on? I said, well, she wants something. We just don't understand. So so mom went over there, played with her a little bit, understood what she wanted, went straight to a pacifier and gave it to her. Soothed the girl, calmed her, and me and my friends was looking around like, wow, that was easy. I wish I had that level of understanding of their child to immediately get these results outside of having upset child for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Not really upset, but just not comfortable until mothers came back home. So I relate that experience with understanding God. If you spend time with God, meaning prayer, reading the Word, you will develop an awareness of the way He speaks to you. You will develop an awareness of understanding. So when you do ask for something or you seek His wisdom and His guidance, He will speak to you immediately. You will understand it. It will come to you in real time, instead of having this, and that would develop, instead of having this lack of gaps of, I asked God for a new car, I asked God what I need to do in this relationship, and I'm still waiting on the answer. And I said, well, how long you been waiting? Oh, a month. He still haven't spoke to me. I said, well, within a month, how long have you prayed? Well, I prayed that time when I asked for it, but I'm waiting for Him to talk to me. I said, well, if He spoke to you, how do He speak to you? Do He speak to you in your dream? Do you actually hear audible voices? Do you get signs? How do He speak to you? And if you don't know, because you don't spend that much time with God, praying to develop these skills to understand how He speaks to you. So that's one thing I would tell people if they seeking for answers for God, because they want to be patient. And that's how you develop patience. If you're in traffic, pray. Read the Word. Listen to the Word. Listen to pastor CDs. You have time. There's time in your day to meditate in the Word. Listen to the CDs. Listen to the Word. Listen to the pastor. Pray while you're in traffic. Pray while you're at Walmart in the long lines. Pray while you're at your kid's school. Pray while you're waiting on your spouse. You could just pray, 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 pray. These are all times you could fill with positive energy instead of being impatient, complaining, not understanding. These are times that you can home in and develop your skills of praying, speaking to God, and then you'll start getting revelations on how He speaks to you. So it'll start clicking in real time. The next book I'm going to be reading out of is Proverbs 16, chapter 32. And it reads as such: better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than to conquer a city. There's a lot in that one passage. Better to be patient than powerful. There's comfort. There is power in patience. You don't have to react to every situation. Sometimes, you see a person with bad energy or bad spirit or just things not right. Just let them be. Have comfort and just let them be, and having the patience to go on with your day and to have self-control than to conquer a city. That's self-explanatory as it is. Pleasing God with your patience is several people in the Bible, several chapters. There's a lot that God highlights of his pleasure with people that had patience with him, and he was pleased with that. One of the major stories that stuck out to me was 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 20. If you're suffering for doing good, endure it patiently. God is pleased with you. It's a lot into that statement also. Suffering. These people were suffering in prison. And he said, endure it patiently. And God will be pleased with you. So, we're not in prison. We're at Walmart. We're in traffic. We are trying to wait till our phone boot up, or the internet is out right now temporarily, or we're dealing with a spouse and we are hungry right now and we want to go out to dinner and they just taking forever to get dressed. But we're not in prison. So I'm pretty sure that we could develop some kind of patience. And like I said earlier, those moments and those times, seek God, pray, meditate, put a scripture on your phone, put your headphones in while I do the same thing. My wife taking forever to get dressed, put my headphones on, listen to Creflo Dollar, Pastor Creflo, put it on, listen to that. Might grab my Bible, start reading the word while I got 20 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour for her to get dressed. I'm fine with it. Take your time. We're going to get there patiently, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to have a good time, and I'm not going to have that suffering of being annoyed and then mess up the whole day, the whole dinner, the whole evening, because I lack patience, which builds into a lot of other things because you're impatient. So find things to do with your patience, and you'll develop a good thick skin. God blesses those who patiently endures testing and temptations. This is out of James 1:19. This is another situation where God is pleasing to God for your patience. Proverbs 19:11. Sensible people control their temper. They earn respect by overlooking wrongs. Again, God is pleased with your patience. And lastly, go to Ecclesiastes 7, verse 8. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Now, I don't know about you guys, but patience is better than pride. Pride that's a whole nother sermon, and that's a big one. So something as easy as developing patience to be pleasing to God is, I believe, one of the easiest ones you try to tackle. A lot of things we got to deal with ourselves and emotions and pleasing to God. So if you could develop patience and find ways to strengthen your patience, I gave you several tips that I use to be in good grace with God, pleasing to God. Finally, the conclusion. The quality of virtue of patience is presented as either forbearance or endurance. In the former sense, it is the quality of self-restraint, of not giving way to anger, even in the face of provocation. It is an attribute to both God and man, and is closely related to mercy and compassion. Thank you again for taking time. My name is Jamie Thompson.